We live in the best country in the world, and I don't even recognize it anymore. That's why we're here today. We talk about a country that's deeply broken at this juncture in the House as we speak about confidence in the Prime Minister because of what's happening outside of this House, because of what's happening in every city right across the country, because of housing prices that have doubled, the price of rent that has doubled, the price of a mortgage payment that has doubled after 9 years, and photo ops from this Prime Minister and his housing plans. We talk about drugs, chaos, disorder in our streets to levels I've never seen before. That's why I say I don't recognize this country anymore. I don't recognize the city that I grew up in. With tent encampments, 1,800 in Ontario alone, popped up in places that they'd never been before. With people who are not just down on their luck. There was always tent encampments. But these are middle-class Canadians who now can't afford a place to live. This is not the country I grew up in. This is not the country that my parents chose to make home. You see, there was a deal in this country. And when my parents came to this country, when they chose to make Canada home, my father was an uncredentialed engineer who ended up driving a taxi to put his wife through school, to make sure that he can buy a home in a safe neighborhood for his family. It's exactly what he did, and he sent 2 kids to school and made sure that in 1 generation, you can go from the front seat of a taxi to the front row of Parliament Hill. That's the dream of this country. Today, you cannot do that. And when I say I don't recognize this country, I don't recognize it because 9 out of 10 young Canadians don't ever believe they will own a home. That the drugs, the chaos, the disorder in our streets are being pumped up by this Prime Minister who is allowing people to languish right in front of us, who isn't providing the care and the support by drowning them in excessive taxes, making their lives unaffordable, who is feeding their own addiction, their own affliction of addiction with taxpayer-funded drugs, creating a street-level palliative care that nobody in this country ever dreamed of seeing in the streets. And that's not just in the downtown east side of Vancouver. I've seen that for many, many years. I saw that 20 years ago. But it's now in every single city, everywhere in the country. We have a Prime Minister that continues to lean on. This is a Prime Minister that has spent more than every Prime Minister combined. This is a Prime Minister who continues to hang his hat on a carbon tax, on quadrupling the carbon tax to go to 61 cents a litre. And not only that, it is going to cost our economy $30 billion in lost GDP. The situation is dire in this country. We have the lowest per capita GDP, not just now, but for the next 30 years. I know it's a fact that they don't admit, but they printed it in their own budget. The lowest GDP per capita. We're squandering opportunity in this country. We have everything we need below our feet. We've got the smart, industrious Canadian people who can build pipelines, who can work in mines, who can deliver the critical minerals that we need, for a government that says everybody's going to drive a Tesla by 2035. We have everything and we squander that opportunity. We've got the smartest people in the world. We have enough food to feed ourselves for a generation. We have enough of what we need below our feet: natural gas, liquefied natural gas, lithium, cobalt, to displace the dictator oil that is being sold to those on the other side of the world whose wars are killing our very own people. We are an embarrassment on the world stage. We no longer sit at the table. We no longer even sit at the kids' table. They just don't even call us anymore. We have a prime minister who has lost moral clarity in issues that I thought were really clear in this country, with long-standing Canadian policy thrown out the window. It's sad to watch what has happened in this country, and it's exactly why we've put forward this motion today. A motion that is now supported by the NDP leader who last Monday came out with a video, a huge production, saying, "I'm ripping up the agreement. We're not friends anymore. We're having a breakup." And it was a very public breakup until Thursday. Thursday, they got back together. They taped up the agreement. Little bit of weirdness where he said after voting 24 times to increase the carbon tax, he says that he's no longer for the carbon tax, but I'm not sure where that is today. This is a government, this is an NDP leader who is constantly trying to pretend to hold this government to account, that says that they ripped up the agreement, that put the agreement back together, who's going to vote to keep this prime minister in power. He's going to vote against the workers that he once pretended to represent in this place. He's going to work against the constituents in his riding and all the riding of his members who want to see this prime minister go. I'm not the only one that hears it. I've been out everywhere this summer, and the refrain is very similar. The refrain is even similar in Quebec. It's time for this prime minister to take a walk in the snow or take a walk in the sand or go surfing or play piano in the middle of a bar drunk before another eminent funeral. That's what the prime minister's, that is frankly what the prime minister is doing right now, as he is not in this place in New York City. The Prime Minister is at the UN General Assembly representing the country, probably checking out the $9 billion condo. There is so much that this government owes to Canadians, so many explanations. Why they spent $67 million on a program to collect guns from people and haven't collected a gun. Why they cannot stop the car theft by putting in these scanners in the ports. Why they turn out repeat violent offenders onto the streets moments and minutes and hours after they commit crimes. Why he hired an anti-Semite to provide anti-racism training to the government of Canada. Why he appointed a human rights commissioner that he had to fire before even starting because he too was an anti-Semite. These are just a few, and I only have 10 minutes, but we can go through a litany of this government's failure to the Canadian people. But this is a country that I think every member in this House, every member on this side of the House has faith in fixing. And with the member from Carleton as the next Prime Minister, we are going to axe the carbon tax on every single family, everywhere in this country, and for good. No more 61 cents a litre, no more loss of $30 billion to our economy. We're going to bring in a middle-class tax cut for workers in this country to make sure that they can take more of their paycheck home and make decisions on their own. We're going to bring in a dollar-for-dollar law. Every dollar spent in this government, we'll find a dollar of savings, and we are going to cut the massive amounts of waste and corruption from that side of the House. We are going to stop the crime by stopping the repeat violent offenders from getting out on bail the second that they get in there, and make sure that they can't serve their sentence in mom's basement while they think about what they've done, only to do it again. And I believe that if other members of this House had any courage, they would understand what Canadians are saying. They would understand that Canadians want a carbon tax election, and I would ask that members of this House finally put it to Canadians and give them the carbon tax election that they want.